Now, I do want to show you one more thing that isn't exactly library related, but this is kind of the best place to put it. So I'm going to get out of the Backstage. I'm going to go ahead and minimize PowerPoint and get back into SharePoint and specifically go to our calendar. Now, the reason I say it doesn't really belong here is the calendar is not a library, it's a list. But it does have to do with integrating things with Office, so I thought we'd go ahead and talk about it now. Many times what people complain about, and rightly so, is that they have to go to multiple places now. They say, boy, a year ago I just went into my email. Everybody sent me everything in email, and while there was a whole bunch of stuff there, and it could be very overwhelming sometimes, at least it was all in one place. Now with SharePoint, I have to go to 10 different sites and 5 different libraries and look at 25 different lists, and that just makes my life difficult. And you know what? That is a valid concern. But that's because, once again, you're missing one little final step that can make things easier. And I like to show this using the calendar. We have to remember that Microsoft SharePoint and Microsoft Office, specifically Microsoft Outlook, work very well together. If I would like to see this calendar, and remember, this calendar is for You Got It training. This is the training calendar. We can see a staff meeting. I don't want to have to go and duplicate all of these things onto my personal calendar in Outlook because that duplicates my efforts and it also gets messy, probably making sure that I'm going to miss something because something isn't created exactly the same. I want to have a better option. And that option would be to be able to see this calendar in Outlook, since that's where I tend to do all of my personal calendaring anyway. Just like linking to Office, linking a library into Outlook is also just a matter of a couple of clicks. Because this is also a calendar item, we're going to go to the Calendar tab, and we're pretty much going to see the similar options that we saw before. We're still in the Share and Track and Connect and Export area of the ribbon, but this time we have an option that doesn't say Connect to Office, it says Connect to Outlook. If we give this a click, it will probably take you through 2 or 3, maybe even 4 security messages. We're going to say it's okay to go ahead and allow this because what's happening is a website is trying to open Outlook. And most of the time, whenever a website is trying to access Outlook and our calendars and our address books, that's usually a bad thing. But in this case, we initiated it, so we'll click or tap Allow. It'll take it a few seconds. You might need to say yes 1 or 2 more times. And without getting into too much detail, you are currently looking at Outlook with the original calendars that were already in place, but now you have the You Got It training calendar listed as well. This is just like opening another person's calendar or a shared calendar or a group calendar in Outlook. It's visible over on the left-hand side of the screen. You can turn it on or off by simply adding and removing the check mark. But what's really nice about this, and kind of a misconception, is people say, okay, well now I can see it, but I still have to go in SharePoint to work with it. That simply is not true. If you have permissions to add, edit, and or delete items on the SharePoint calendar in SharePoint, those same permissions apply even though you're looking at it in Outlook. Let me prove it to you. Go ahead and double click on a date. And let's say that we're going to have a conference. And because nobody ever does conferences in boring places, we'll go ahead and make this in Orlando. Nobody goes to a conference for just one day either, so we'll have to make this for multiple days. Usually they're about 5. So I'll go ahead and use the drop-down calendar here. Mark it through the 20th, and we won't get too carried away, but we'll just do save and close. So that was definitely Outlook. We can now see that that is on the calendar. If we now move back to SharePoint, back to the calendar, you say, well, see, it's not there. Don't forget, this is a website. That means it's been sitting open in the background and it just needs to be refreshed. Once we refresh it, now we can see that I was able to update a calendar in SharePoint by simply doing what I always do in Outlook as well. So I can now create items that are of interest to my team or my department or my project, really without getting out of my comfort zone and where I normally work, which is in Outlook with my own email and my own calendar available as well. One more thing I wanted to mention, just because it's good to know, once you get a calendar into Outlook, you're not stuck with it there. It's just a linked calendar. So you can right-click on that calendar name in the left-hand side of your screen and just say delete the calendar. Don't be afraid because it will give you a message that says you're about to delete the calendar. You are, but you're only deleting it from your copy of Outlook. You absolutely will not delete the calendar from SharePoint itself. So you can link it in and delete it and link it in again. It's never going to hurt anything. But if you need a calendar for a certain period of time, maybe when a project is active, and then you want to get rid of it later, feel free to add it in and then delete it when the time is right. What you now know is that SharePoint and Office are both Microsoft products. You probably knew that already, but just a little reminder, because it's important and we forget that things are designed to work together with Microsoft. They are a suite of products. Although they are independent applications, they are also designed to work together as that suite of solutions that we've been talking so much about. If you're using SharePoint 2013 and the latest versions of Office, primarily 2010 and 2013 at the moment, you can take advantage of having them integrate together. Integrating them is what makes them more seamless to use, and seamless means easy, and easy means it makes your life better. You can link libraries to Office so they display like a mapped network drive without having to search for them. If you're using Office 365, you may also have to add the SharePoint service to Office for that functionality to work. If you need help, you can ask your SharePoint administrator to help you with that, or maybe an IT person. It's not difficult, it's just from the backstage view, but it may need to be done if it hasn't been done already as part of your installation. Once those things are done, you don't have to do it again, but will enjoy being able to access your SharePoint libraries more easily from Windows Explorer and all of the related dialog boxes. Don't forget that you can also link your lists and libraries to Outlook. The calendar is probably the most common, but other libraries work as well. This capability enables you to view and modify content without having to navigate to the specific SharePoint site, and it consolidates information in a single location, primarily Outlook, that you're probably already using a majority of the day anyway. When we can integrate things together and make them part of the processes that we're already used to doing, like using Office and using Outlook, it simply makes SharePoint a more seamless transition and easier to use while giving us the advanced capabilities that SharePoint offers.